What Works Clearinghouse Intervention Report. Too Good for Drugs is a school-implemented program that is designed to promote life skills, charter values, resistance skills to negative peer influences, and resistance to the use of illegal drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. This program targets elementary and middle school students, but can be used for all grades. The program is based on classroom discussions and structured activities such as role-playing and cooperative learning games that center on interactive learning and skill-building exercises. Too Good for Drugs also includes the optional elements of parental and community involvement. Too Good for Drugs consists of 10 lessons at each grade level lasting 30 to 45 minutes per lesson. All lessons are scripted and intended to be taught by trained teachers or program instructors. Lessons include information about the frequency of drug use among American youth and the harmful effects of drug use. Instructional strategies cover goal setting and decision-making skills, pro-social skills, resistance to negative peer influence skills, and interpersonal skills. Core values such as respect for self and others, empathic responding, and responsibility are integrated into the lessons. This program comes with grade-level kits that include scripted curricula, 50 student workbooks, measurable objectives, evaluation tools, lesson extenders, teaching materials such as puppets and posters, teaching tips, and evaluation tools. Cost per kit ranges from $100 to $130, depending on the grade level. Teachers are also encouraged to attend an on-site or regional curriculum 3-day training workshop held by the developer. The cost per day of a regional training workshop is $300 a person. The cost of the regional training is reduced to $850 if the participant attends all 3 days of training. There were 2 studies dealing with the implementation and student improvement of the Too Good for Drugs program that were reviewed by the What Works Clearinghouse. Both met the What Works Clearinghouse evidence standards. Both studies focused on Too Good for Drugs implemented in classrooms rather than a school-wide intervention. These studies, which included nearly 2,500 students in grades 3, 4, and 6 attending 12 elementary schools in Florida, examined results on student behavior and knowledge, attitudes, and values. These results were compared to classrooms that did not participate in this program. The What Works Clearinghouse review of character education addresses student outcomes in 3 domains: behavior, knowledge, attitudes, and values, and academic achievement. For domain 1, behavior, both studies found significant differences favoring the intervention group when compared to non-program participants in all 3 subscales: personal social skills, pro-social behavior, and inappropriate behavior. However, the What Works Clearinghouse calculated none of these outcomes were found to be statistically significant. That being said, the What Works Clearinghouse did conclude the average effect size was large enough to be considered substantively important. For domain 2, the authors of both studies found significant improvement in all 3 outcomes: resistance skills, pro-social peer group, and locus of control, when compared to non-program participants. However, the What Works Clearinghouse calculated none of these outcomes were found to be statistically significant. For domain 3, the authors of both studies concluded there were only significant differences in goal setting and decision making. However, the What Works Clearinghouse calculated none of these outcomes were found to be statistically significant. The What Works Clearinghouse rates interventions as positive, potentially positive, mixed, non-discernible effects, potentially negative, or negative. The rating of effectiveness takes into account 4 factors: the quality of the research design, the statistical significance of the findings, the size of the difference between the participants in the intervention condition and the comparison condition, and the consistency of the findings across studies. The What Works Clearinghouse rated the Too Cool for Drugs program as having potentially positive effects in the behavior domain based on the research studies. Furthermore, the What Works Clearinghouse rated the Too Cool for Drugs program as having no discernible effects on the other two domains. One aspect of this program I think is important to highlight is the fact that it uses cooperative learning activities, role play, and skill building methods to reinforce positive behaviors and skills while encouraging students to apply these behaviors and skills in other contexts. Cooperative learning is a highly recommended strategy in drug prevention. Cooperative learning in a classroom setting has many benefits. Marzano, Pickering, Pollock did a study in 2001 called Classroom Instruction That Works. They cited research showing that organizing students in cooperative learning groups can lead to a gain as high as 28 percentiles in measured student achievement. Furthermore, drug education is crucial and is needed in schools. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse, in 2017, every single day about 5,480 people had their first experience using prescription drugs to get high. That's more than 2 million people in 1 year who had their first exposure to prescription drugs for recreational purposes. How many of those incidences of young adult exposure to addictive prescription drugs would have been prevented had those youngsters been taught the harm and danger in drug use? How many of them would have known to stay away from the drugs thanks to having learned in school how dangerous drugs truly are? Drug education can provide students of all ages information that could have a significant impact on the choices they make both at school and in the future. Of course, education alone cannot be expected to overcome the influence of media, advertising, music, online influencers, and peer social pressures. This may be why the What Works Clearinghouse did not find any statistical significance evidence after the implementation of this program in the two studies that they researched. However, I do not feel this reflects the real impact a program like Too Good for Drugs can potentially have on our student body and community in its entirety.